You've explored the wonders of Elden Ring's vast and complex lands between. You've mastered the unrelenting challenges of PvE. You even dabbled in some thoughtful and strategic PvP. But deep down, all you really wanted was to play Hungry Hungry Hippos. Now, if you're like me and you lack the social acumen and charisma to bring together 4 different people to play Hungry Hungry Hippos in person, you may find that the omen cleaver scratches a similar itch when delivering a charged R2 and a lovely chomp. Sleepy Sheepy here. Today we're going to be looking at the omen cleaver. So we're running this on a pure strength build. You could also run this on a dex build, but since we're two-handing our weapon, I felt like it was a good option to be running this on a strength build and get that 1.5 strength bonus. This also means we can run lower strength than we would dexterity with 56 strength. And we'll be doing this with Sword Dance, Flaming Strike, and I also tried Lightning Slash, which probably would be better on a dex build, but since I wasn't able to consistently roll catch players with Lightning Slash, which is something that Gigasthiccas pointed out and something I was trying to do, I definitely switched it up and went for different Ashes of War. Now, we'll be running this at 137 and do a little bit of a Poise Boy build with some 109 Poise and 37 endurance, so that's quite a bit higher than I normally run, but with the new patch I felt like a little bit more poise could be helpful, and that allows you to tank the second swing of two-handed KGS, so that's pretty nice. Obviously, the most important part of this weapon is going to be the R2. The charged attack looks like this, which is fairly slow, but you get a lot of hyper armor, and the uncharged version comes out quite quickly after an initial light attack, so that can be a really nice thing to do, kind of surprise your opponents. Now, the obvious drawback is the fact that this has pretty short range. You do get a little bit of forward momentum, but it's still not amazing, so you really want to be tanking something that your opponent is throwing at you, not get poise broken in the process, and deliver some massive damage, especially with the Axe Talisman. You'll be able to, really get that damage up quite high if you go for a fully charged attack. That pretty much covers everything that I wanted to say about this weapon, and let's go ahead and jump into the invasions as well as some arena clips. Alright, so jumping into our first invasion, it's going to be a 3v1, and this group is definitely a little bit scary. They have a number of different projectile options. I believe they're also running Erdtree's Blessing or something to, buff them a little bit. I can't remember if that's a physical boost or whatnot, but it is going to make my job just a little bit harder, and I am going to try to be pretty patient here. I don't want to rush in and just get hit by 1,000 projectiles and absolutely blundered, so I'm going to try to move them to an area that I think would be a little bit better. They are playing pretty aggressively, so I can kind of use that to my advantage. Now, I feel like there's a moment there where I have an opportunity to just go for a running heavy attack with this weapon, and that's the true combo that I'm trying to, or not true combo rather, but the roll catch that I'm trying to achieve is the running heavy into Lightning Slash, and I find that it works fairly well on flat ground, and you'll see it right here where I do get the kind of roll catch with Lightning Slash, and there I get the very prestigious Falling Chomp, and I really was happy about that to turn this into a 2v1, which was extremely important. That was kind of the one spot that I had to really funnel them into an area where I could get a surprise attack on them, and it resulted in 1 death. So that's pretty huge for this and makes this definitely more possible, and I'd say those opportunities are much more important to winning invasions when you're in kind of a tough spot. So now we're just going to be kind of dancing around some of the different Ashes of War as well as projectiles that are coming our way. We have Moonveil in the mix as well as Barrage on a light roll build, and this player is continuously trying to apply buffs. I'm not sure how much Estus they have, but they are using kind of their incantations as a way to maintain a buff advantage as well as potentially a health advantage. So again, I'm using the terrain and the walls to just kind of dodge these different projectiles and get them blocked on my end. I was hoping to get that backstab there as they went for another incantation, and I wasn't able to grab it, but that's definitely a good way to punish that type of act, especially if they're nearby. So this player is rolling a lot, and I'm actually not 100% sure if they're running a light roll build. They definitely are dressed like they are, but that roll distance, I'm not 100% sure if that is as far as light roll normally takes people. But either way, it's kind of a tricky duo, especially since I'm trying to kill the host last, and this player is a little bit slippery. So they do get a poise break here, and at this point I switch to my off stock, and the off stock is incredibly strong in this patch. I have it cold infused because I want that frost proc, and that's going to make my damage a little bit higher as I run the curved greatsword that is just physically infused, since frostbite will lower my opponent's physical damage resistance. So I do need to back off here as another stream of projectiles comes my way, but I'm able to heal, kind of set back to neutral a little bit, and begin this chase down again. Now the host just put down Night Maiden's Mist, which does make it hard for this Phantom to escape in this moment. Up here they don't really want to run into that Night Maiden's Mist, so they back off a little bit and go for their Ash of War again, and I'm able to punish that with just a running light attack. So here I tap the rock, definitely not trying to switch to the two-handed moveset, just, you know, really didn't like that rock, and I switch back over to the host here. So I was hoping to go for Lightning Slash for the finish, but amazingly the host goes for an attack out of stun, and then a legendary triple chug, which is always nice to see. And now they are a little bit lower on Estus, but I'm not totally sure where they're at. And here I actually do get Lightning Slash as just kind of a random Ash of War, and it's a nice buff as well. So it is fairly difficult to land just randomly. I don't really recommend you go for it, but if you just want the buff and you're interested to see if, you know, you hit your opponent, that's a potentially good option. And now we have a blue that's come in with Eleanor's Pole Blade. So that was the true combo that I was trying to achieve there, with a running heavy as well as Lightning Slash. And since we were on a hill, I don't think it worked. So I'm, you know, really under the idea at the moment that it's much more consistent on flat ground. So for those of you that want to try it, I'd be curious to know what you think and how consistent it is on flat ground versus on hilly terrain. So at this point, I almost died. It was definitely a scary moment, and I decide to go for a double chug and then get a little bit aggressive. Here again, I go for Lightning Slash. It actually kills the host, but I do have time to finish off the last blue. So pretty good invasion there, I thought, just with the variety of techniques and not getting killed by all the projectiles. I was fairly happy with that one. And we're ready to move on to the next one. So this one starts out with some shenanigans with a great bow, as well as some more projectiles. I'm trying to be a little bit more cautious and funnel them into an area where I think I can get some damage off, but I also don't want to get hit by Giant's Flame Take Thee. It can do a ton of damage, and it can be a little bit unpredictable. So I do get a great bow shot off, and that's going to be helpful in terms of chip damage, but not really a game changer. And then I also land Rain of Arrows as they get kind of clustered together. So I'm continuing kind of the chip battle damage and trying to bait them forward. And as they come forward, I go over to the weapon swap. Now, my inventory was not super optimized with this build, but being able to swap over to your ideal weapon a little bit faster from the great bow will definitely help you out. And now the PvE is involved a little bit, which, you know, does give me a bit of cover. Some weird hitbox there on that lightning that came down. It seemed like it hit me, but I took no damage. And now we get some rocks coming in, some Moonveil, some Giant's Flame Take Thee, and it feels prudent to back off again. And they're going after the giant squid here, and this gets one player in, and that's kind of all we need. We are able to hit them with a true combo. Again, it is on flat ground, so that's fairly consistent in that respect. I've definitely been finding, and I'm able to back off, let the PvE kind of cover me, and get some heals back. So here we go for Lightning Slash. We only get the initial hit. We don't hit them with the full damage, which was a little bit disappointing, and I know that player's behind me. I'm a little bit worried about them trying to backstab me or something, so I turn around, take my focus off the Phantom, and then begin the chase down again. So I feel like I'm in a much better place than I was at the beginning of the invasion. They're definitely backing off. They've taken a fair amount of damage, and I'm able to just rush them a little bit more while kind of keeping my eye on the hosted back that's running Bolt of Grand Sack. So here, again, do get the roll catch. They didn't have as much space to maneuver, and then I soft swap over to the off stock just so I can get that last bit of chip damage, which I really recommend. Just having that opportunity. The chase down potential with a curved greatsword is not amazing, but we do see some potential for vortexing, and I really like the ravioli step as just a way to kind of cancel the animation as well as get a little bit of forward momentum. So if you do land a hit and then ravioli step afterwards, it can be really nice to just land another hit and kind of keep the vortex running. So this next invasion was quite chaotic. There were Waves of Gold in the mix, there were Blasphemous Blade, there were Stormhawk Axe, I believe there was a Frozen Meatballs spell, and it was just a lot to kind of keep in my head. So here I almost turned it into a 2v1, but the host is able to cover the Phantom as they roll away, which was unfortunate. I'm trying to use pillars here to just block as much of this as I can. Here come the Frozen Meatballs, which just between the desync of Waves of Gold, the weird hitbox of that spell with all the little flying rocks, it's a lot to kind of keep in your brain in terms of timing, and can be really hard to just know when to roll, even if you're trying to reaction roll. So there, I get hit with some of those meatballs. I send Flaming Strike behind me, and I've somehow wedged myself in probably one of the worst spots I could with Blasphemous Blade and all these different Ashes of War. So I immediately recognize that I'm in trouble and just try to get out of there as fast as possible. Being able to jump like that down the stairs makes my job a little bit easier, since I can jump over some of the hitboxes, but it's still scary. And I think if you find yourself in a spot like that, it really makes sense to just try to get out as fast as possible. Don't try to deliver damage, don't try to do anything fancy, just get yourself in a better position. So at this point, my weapon feels a little bit futile. So what I want to do is bait them forward. I want them to be following me, I want them to be aggressive, and we do see that from one player. I do botch my swap a little bit, should have been a little bit more careful, and my Stormhawk Axe was not quite in the right spot, but this group feels like, if there's ever a group that could enjoy getting hit with some Stormhawk Axes, it's this one. So they all run into it kind of blindly and fall to just a single Ash of War. I give them a polite wave to let them know that their tactics were quite impressive, and I'm going to be on my merry way. So we do move on to another 3v1, and this one really cracked me up. So we're able to very quickly kill one player. I think this group is definitely ganking, and then this player that was going for Bloody Slash just yeets themselves over the edge of the banister and turns us into a one-on-one, so we can appreciate that. This host and I went at it for a little while. They are rune arced, so I think they had probably a little bit of extra health, which helped kind of prolong the fight. And I also was trying to go for some cheeky chomps, which I definitely recommend. The chomping is always pretty fun to do, but I wasn't able to land it too consistently. It's definitely hard, and I think your best bet is to go for a hyper armor trade where, if they go for an attack, you're expecting them to go for an attack, you just queue up that either quick chomp, or you can sometimes bait them in with a fully charged one and then follow it up with another charged one as they try to punish the recovery frames of the first one. But I find it to be kind of inconsistent, but very gratifying when it's landed. So again, we're just kind of trading blows. I think I'm probably doing more damage per second overall, but this player does have a lot of health and is rune arc, so the burst damage that I'd like to get is not really there. Here I go for a little bit of wave dashing. I'm not totally sure how good the crouch canceling and kind of moveset blending is with this, but I think it's kind of interesting potentially for curved greatswords. So if you want to do a chain of wave dashing crouch cancels to get just a bunch of crouching attacks out, I think it can look kind of a little funny. Your body spins maybe more than you'd expect it to. And then a blue does come in at the last minute, but the host is already dead, so we're able to move on. And this last invasion was definitely a special one. You saw it in the intro, but I thought I'd include the whole thing. So we have this shield poking player, and I get out my music record to kick them, and I'm queuing kick, and they're just spamming with maybe an unleveled spear. They're doing almost no damage. And I was just kind of curious how long it would last. So I give a roll to kind of break up the timing. They stop for 1 second. I'm able to deliver the kick and just, kill them in one shot. So a fun invasion there, and we can move on to the dual portion of the showcase. And this was a very interesting one where we deliver the full chomp damage, but it comes in after they deliver lifesteal. So you can see their HP bar go to 0. They still get lifesteal fist on me, but then die when it finishes the animation. So it would have been interesting if they had done enough damage to kill me in that moment. I love the lifesteal fist, but it was just kind of an interesting, chomp versus lifesteal fist moment. So next up we have a player that's definitely running a little bit of an off-meta build, and I was just kind of including this one because it was a fairly good chomp in my opinion. They go for Marika's hammer, leaves them susceptible to a backstab. I go for a ravioli step, completely miss, and then just face tank their attack with a chomp because the hyper armor is ridiculous, and do manage to get one last hit in to finish the fight there. This next one was another kind of interesting one. I just kind of included it because the parry shield that this player was using, as well as Raptor Talons. You know, Raptor Talons are in kind of a funny place right now where they're extremely strong, so I definitely wanted to get a parry in this moment, so I wait for their first half of the running heavy, and then go for a parry, and then swap over to the Meteor Chord. And I hope this player didn't mind. It's a little bit BM, but I feel like the Raptor Talons are also a little bit BM, so kind of all works out in the end there. And then I switch over to the Arumi, go for a heavy attack, and then actually the follow-up heavy, which I feel like nobody ever really expects. And if you have the space to get it off, it lands pretty consistently. So do love to incorporate the Arumi wherever I can. And then moving on, we have a little bit of a cheeky duel here, I guess. So this player is starting things off hot and heavy with a great bow attack, and then switching over to the power stance lances. And to be honest, I don't actually mind power stance lances. I think they're a good weapon to learn, and they can really help you in invasions, but they do have a certain reputation. And so I kind of want to be a little bit cheeky back, and I switch over to the great bow as well, now that they are not spacing super aggressively, and I get one shot off, it connects, and then right before they jump, I get a second shot off and it connects, and then we just switch over to the Arumi and I yell at them for the finish. So a fun battle against power stance lances for sure. As always, if you made it this far, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you supporting the content, and I hope you have a good one.